Someone tried to say it casually. Someone tried to make it sound like your name was just another detail in an old story, something they could mention and move past. But your specific person heard it, and something in them shifted before they could hide it. This is Love Arcana Vault. Let's go deeper. Their face may have stayed calm. Their voice may have tried to stay even, but their energy betrayed them, and this is why this first card matters. The Six of Swords is not just about moving on, not here, in this reading. It is psychological. It is the image of someone carrying unresolved thoughts across emotional water, trying to leave a situation behind while still bringing every painful sword with them, every memory, every regret, every unspoken sentence, and your specific person has been doing exactly that. They have been trying to act like they crossed away from this, like they are somewhere else now, like the connection is behind them. But when your name came up behind the scenes, those swords were still in the boat. Your name touched every single one. The room felt it. At first, this was a group conversation. People talking, people assuming, people filling in blanks they were never given permission to fill. There may have been laughter at first, or that careless tone people use when they think they understand a breakup from the outside, but they did not understand, and your specific person knew they did not understand. Someone made a comment about you, something slightly unfair. Maybe they said you were too emotional. Maybe they acted like you were the one who made everything complicated. Maybe they suggested you cared too much, asked for too much, expected too much. And for a second, your specific person sat with it. They tried to let it pass, but they could not, because the part they cannot escape is this. They know the version of you being discussed in that room was not the full truth. They know you were not just too much. They know you were reacting to distance, confusion, mixed signals, silence, and emotional inconsistency. They know you were trying to understand something that kept hurting you. And when that wrong version of you landed in the room, something inside them stood up before their pride could sit it back down. They said something, not loudly, maybe, not dramatically, but clearly enough that the room went quiet. They may have said, "No, that is not fair." Or, "You do not know what really happened," or "They were actually good to me." And that sentence changed everything, because they did not expect to say that. They did not expect to defend you. They did not expect their own voice to expose that they still carry emotional weight around your name. But the Six of Swords shows me someone trying to move forward while still transporting the truth. They can leave the shore, but they cannot leave the swords. They can act detached, but they cannot erase what they know. They can stay silent for a long time, but when your name is handled carelessly, their conscience starts rowing. And this changed how people saw the situation, because suddenly, your specific person was not acting like someone who was over it. They were acting like someone who still knows your heart, someone who remembers what you gave, someone who knows, deep down, that you were not the villain in the story. But what they said next revealed even more, because it was not just a defense. It was almost like your specific person started defending you, and then realized halfway through that they were also confessing something about themselves. And that is why the Nine of Pentacles comes in next, because psychologically, this is not just about independence. It is about someone finally seeing the value of what they had when it is no longer standing right in front of them, asking to be chosen. This is the energy of someone looking at you differently now. Not as someone who needed too much, not as someone who was asking for attention for no reason, but as someone who actually had value, loyalty, patience, self-respect, and a kind of emotional richness they did not know how to handle when they had access to it. And I feel like when your name came up, someone in that room tried to speak about you like you were still the old version they assumed you were. Maybe they said, "They probably still care." Maybe they said, "They were always doing too much." Maybe they implied you were waiting, stuck, or still emotionally available in the same way. And that is when your specific person said something that shifted the entire room. Something like, "No, they are not like that." Or, "They actually handled more than people know." Or, "They were good on their own before me, and they will be good after me." And listen to that energy. Because that is not just someone correcting gossip. That is someone acknowledging your worth. That is someone admitting, in front of other people, that you were never small. You were never weak. You were never just someone begging for love. You were someone who gave from a full place. And when the connection became painful, it was not because you had no value. It was because your value was not being respected correctly. The room went quiet because they did not expect to say that. They did not expect your specific person to speak about you with that much seriousness. They did not expect them to remember the details. And I feel like they did remember details. They may have brought up how much you tried, how patient you were, how you showed up when they were difficult, how you gave them chances, how you were not perfect. No, but you were sincere, and that is where the mask slipped. Because when someone starts naming the ways you were good to them, they are also admitting they knew. They knew while it was happening. They knew when you were being misunderstood. They knew when you were giving more than you were receiving. They knew when you were trying to keep the connection from falling apart by yourself. And behind the scenes, in that group conversation, that truth finally came out through their own mouth. This changed how people saw the situation because suddenly, the story did not sound so simple anymore. It was not just, you were too emotional. It became, maybe they were hurt for a reason. It was not just, you expected too much. It became, maybe they were asking for the bare minimum from someone who kept making them feel unsafe. It was not just, they could not let go. It became, maybe they held on because they actually believed in this person. And I feel like somebody in that room felt the shift immediately. Someone may have stopped talking. Someone may have looked down. Someone may have realized they had repeated something unfair. Because your specific person did not just protect your name, they restored context around your name. That is important, because context is what people remove when they want to judge you quickly. They remove what you endured. They remove what you asked for. They remove how many times you tried to explain before you finally reacted. They remove the quiet nights, the confusion, the waiting, the emotional labor, the way you kept hoping this person would meet you with honesty. But your specific person put some of that context back. Maybe not all of it, but enough. Enough for the room to understand that you were not just a difficult chapter in their life. You were someone they failed to fully appreciate while you were there. And with this 9 of Pentacles, there is another layer. Your specific person may be starting to realize that you are not sitting in lack anymore, even if you are still healing, even if part of you still cares, even if this reading is touching something tender in you right now. Your energy is not desperate. Your energy is becoming self-contained, and maybe that is why defending you hit them so hard. Because as they were telling other people who you really were, they may have felt, for the first time, that they were describing someone they no longer have access to in the same way. Someone valuable, someone rare, someone they tried to minimize because facing your full value would have made their own behavior look even worse. And that is the part they cannot escape. They stood up for you. Yes, but in standing up for you, they also revealed that they had been sitting on the truth for a long time. And the part they could not explain was why defending you affected them more than the accusation itself. Because after they said it, they had to sit with it. Not in the room only, not just in that one conversation. I mean later, after the voices moved on, after someone changed the subject, after the group tried to pretend the air had not shifted. Your specific person carried that moment with them, and that is where the 4 of Cups becomes important. Because psychologically, this is the card of someone sitting with an emotional offer, an emotional truth, an emotional opening, and still not knowing what to do with it. It is not that they do not see it. It is not that they do not feel it. It is that feeling it would require them to respond differently than they have been responding. And that is where the conflict is. They protected your name in public, but they still have not fully faced your heart in private. Public defense, private silence, public truth, private fear. And that contrast is louder than they want it to be, because once they stood up for you, they could not go back to pretending they did not know what happened. They could not go back to acting like the situation was just complicated, or mutual, or something that naturally faded. No, their own words pulled the truth closer. They may have replayed the conversation later and thought, why did I say that? But they know why. They know your name still has weight. They know your place in their life was not random. They know they let people think certain things because silence was easier than honesty, and now that silence feels different. Before, their silence may have protected their pride. Now, it exposes it. Because if they can tell a room full of people, no, that is not who they are, then a part of them knows they owe you a deeper truth than that. And I feel like this is what they are avoiding. Not the feeling, the accountability that comes after the feeling. The 4 of Cups is showing someone emotionally closed off, but not emotionally empty. That is important. This is not a person who feels nothing. This is a person who does not know how to receive what their own heart is trying to hand them. Regret is there. Memory is there. A quiet ache is there. But they are sitting still, arms crossed in their energy. Because admitting all of that would mean admitting they were not as innocent as they may have made themselves sound. And someone else noticed, that is the fresh angle here. Someone in that room saw your specific person differently after this. Maybe this person had believed the old story. Maybe they thought your specific person was completely over it. Maybe they thought you were the only one still carrying emotion. But after your specific person defended you, that person started questioning things. They may have looked at them and realized, there is more here. They may have realized your specific person was not just correcting a detail, they were protecting someone they still feel connected to. And that makes your specific person feel exposed, because now the truth is no longer only inside them. Someone else heard it. Someone else saw the reaction. Someone else watched the mask slip for 1 second too long. And that is why this is bothering them more than they expected. It is not just that they stood up for you, it is that the room saw a version of them they have been trying to hide. The version that remembers, the version that regrets, the version that knows you did not deserve to be reduced to a rumor, a joke, or a one-sided explanation. But here's the part that matters for you. Do not confuse their discomfort with repair. Do not confuse their guilt with growth. Do not confuse them sitting in that Four of Cups energy, staring at the emotional truth, with them actually reaching for it. Because yes, they may want you to know they defended you. A part of them may even hope it gets back to you. They may want you to hear, somehow, that when your name came up behind the scenes, they did not let people drag it through the room, but wanting credit for a brave sentence is not the same as offering real repair. And this is where your energy becomes the part of the reading they did not see coming, because your energy is not reaching across that room trying to explain yourself anymore. That is the shift. Before, you may have wanted them to understand every detail. You may have wanted them to finally see the way their silence affected you. You may have wanted someone, anyone, to say, no, you were not crazy for feeling that. And when your name came up behind the scenes, that truth finally started moving. But you were not the one forcing it. You were not standing there defending yourself. You were not trying to convince people to see your heart correctly. And that is why your energy feels stronger now. The Six of Swords showed the truth being carried away, but never released. Your specific person tried to move past this connection, but the memory of you was still in the boat with them. They carried the words they never said. They carried the knowing. They carried the part of the story they could not keep buried forever. Then, the Nine of Pentacles showed your value becoming visible the moment you were no longer standing there asking to be chosen. That matters, because sometimes people do not see what you brought until they can no longer reach for it casually. Sometimes they do not recognize your patience until your patience is no longer available on demand. And now, with the Four of Cups, we see where they are sitting. They can see the emotional truth. They can feel the opening. They can sense that something is being offered to them internally, a chance to be honest, a chance to grow, a chance to stop hiding behind half-truths. But they are still sitting with it. They still have to decide whether they are going to reach for real accountability or stay silent with the cup right in front of them. And that is why this ending has to be grounded. Because yes, they stood up for you. Yes, the room was stunned. Yes, they did not expect to say that. Yes, this changed how people saw the situation, but your specific person defending your name behind the scenes is not the same as them showing up in front of you with full accountability. And I need you to hear that clearly. Let it validate you. Do not let it pull you backward. Let it remind you that you were not imagining the imbalance. Do not let it make you forget what the imbalance cost you. Let it confirm that they knew more than they admitted. Do not let it make you chase someone who is still sitting in silence, because your silence has changed now. It is not the silence of someone waiting by the phone, trying to decode crumbs, trying to prove their softness, trying to convince someone to value what should have been valued naturally. Your silence has become discernment. It has become a boundary. It has become the quiet place where you stop handing out access just because someone finally tells the truth after the damage is done. And they can feel that. That is the part they did not see coming. They may have defended you because something in them still cares. They may have corrected that room because your name still matters. They may have spoken up because, for one honest second, Their conscience moved faster than their pride. But now they have to decide what that means. Are they going to let that be one emotional moment in a room full of people? Or are they going to let it become the beginning of real accountability? Because real accountability is not just saying, they were good to me. Real accountability is saying, I did not treat them with the care they deserved. It is not just saying, people do not know the whole story. It is saying, I allowed an incomplete story to protect me. It is not just defending your name when someone else speaks on it. It is coming to you with enough honesty to stop making you carry the emotional weight alone. So, let this be what it is. A confirmation, a crack in the old narrative, a moment where the truth stood up, even when you were not in the room, but do not shrink your standards just because their courage finally showed its face for a few seconds. You are allowed to feel seen by this. You are allowed to feel vindicated. You are allowed to let your heart breathe a little and say, so they did know. But you are not required to run towards someone who is only beginning to admit what you already lived through. They stood up for you in that room. Now, let them decide whether they are brave enough to stand in front of you with the full truth.